Hello, my name is Kingsies, and I'm an introspective ambient poet, writer, author, filmmaker, director, and just creative in general. My goal is to make you feel seen, heard, and validated because I felt what it was like to be devoid of those things, and I don't want anybody else to feel like that. So the topic today that I want to talk about is attachment styles. So generally, attachment styles are the way that you navigate your relationships, whether that be platonically or romantically, especially romantically though. There's generally four of them. There's a secure attachment. You can set like healthy boundaries. You had a really good relationship with your parents growing up. You know how to heal and manage your trauma. You know how to give your partner space. You know how to give yourself space. You're grounded. You can be practical. Then there's avoidant attachment. You may avoid intimacy for whatever reason. You have commitment issues. You can be guarded and generally just closed off to people. And usually this can be from, like relationship trauma, right? Like maybe you got your heart broken in a really traumatic way. You never really know where these things can come from unless you actively do some introspection to find out where. And then there's anxious attachment. This is the one that I have. So I want to kind of give my own experience with it. So generally with anxious attachment, I feel very afraid of getting hurt, afraid of like past experiences that I've had repeating. For example, like my ex had cut me off and like blocked me at one point. And I noticed that when I'm talking to people, like, dating and stuff like that on dating apps, I kind of get that in my head of like, okay, they didn't do this, so they didn't respond within like a certain amount of time, or they did something weird, or they said something odd. So I already know it's gonna end up, probably being like the same thing. They're probably gonna end up ghosting me or stuff like that. So it causes me to retract and not fully make myself available. And that's not to say that I'm like an emotionally unavailable person. Like no, when it gets to that point, I can definitely, you know, be present. My brain's way of keeping me safe is, putting like bad thoughts about relationships in my head, like, oh, like you really don't want to do that, you're gonna end up get hurt again, or like, oh, most relationships don't last. You don't even want to be bothered with that. Um, but when it comes to like actually being in a relationship, you know, um, having that like distance between me and my partner, that can be difficult because it kind of feels like I'm losing that validation that things are okay and that I don't need to worry. With my first relationship, there was some points where I felt dependent on my ex to validate me because he always did that. Um, he always validated me, but it was unhealthy, right? Like you shouldn't need somebody else to do that for you. That kind of basically it turned into codependency. Um, but yeah, my anxious attachment is not going to be the same as yours. There's nuances everywhere when it comes to this. I like to think of it as like a spectrum because people are so different. And then there is the disorganized. So with these attachment styles, well, that attachment style specifically, you find that people with very heavy traumatic baggage tend to fall into this kind of attachment or tend to have this kind of attachment. They can be afraid of getting, rejected. They can have like a hard time like trusting people. Their self-esteem tends to be lower. Here's the thing that you want to keep in mind, right? Just because somebody is an avoidant doesn't mean they're incapable of loving you or they're incapable of being emotionally available at all. Like, it's important to not think of these attachment styles as a box, but more so as a guide to understanding yourself and your partner. Because like you can be in a relationship with somebody avoidant, you can be in a relationship with somebody who has anxious attachment. You never really know unless you ask about these things and also have some sort of background knowledge yourself about what these attachment styles look like. They all cope with it differently. Like my ex, he really struggled with commitment issues, and I didn't realize that until after we had broken up and then started like, hooking up and stuff like that. And he just could not be with just one person. Like, it didn't matter how often we seen each other. He had to have access and that freedom to be with, to hook up with whoever we wanted. You might be thinking like, okay, yeah, like you're not together. He has every right. But the thing is like the reasoning for that is so we didn't have to be so cautious about diseases and stuff. Because like when you introduce somebody else into your sexual circle, you got to think about, okay, well, are they clean? Are they lying about it? And neither of us were on PrEP or Doxy or anything like that. So, he also wanted to have his cake and eat it too, right? Like he really enjoyed being intimate with me, but he also wanted to be able to pursue whoever else he wanted, kind of like keeping me as like the backup, right? So like if anything fell through with whoever he was pursuing, he always had me to fall back on and enjoy. My anxious attachment. So I'm naturally a very anxious person. I navigate life pretty cautiously. I don't really like doing things out of my comfort zone, but I still try. I'm growing, things are changing. But when I had met my ex and, all the stuff happened between us, that was really where my anxious attachment fully developed. And that whole fear of abandonment, wanting like validation from other people, that really set in. And like now, I would say my anxious attachment has kind of evolved in a way. It's like an anxious avoidant attachment. So like I still have that fear of abandonment. I do feel like I don't really see the value in relationships as much as I did before. And I just feel like deep connections in general are kind of repulsive to me, but it's complicated, right? Like this is why I said, don't think of it as a box, think of it as a guideline, right? Because I'm an emotionally available person, highly emotionally available. I feel things very deeply. So it's hard for me to not want a relationship or like a deep connection with people, right? I have this anxious avoidant attachment, and the dating climate is so flaky. Like when you're talking to somebody, just expect for them to not be around longer than like a couple days, because honestly that's how it's been. And I usually use like Hinge, and like yeah, a lot of my chats are just not active anymore because the person just either lost interest or they just ghosted or they just got busy with life. I don't really know. I'm not trying to sit here and figure it out. I'm just telling you about the dating climate in general. Like it's just not it's just not what I would like it to be. It's not what a lot of people would like it to be. I really do have therapy to thank for how far I've come with my anxious attachment and just how introspective that I've been able to become too. Like to sit there and really be able to diagnose yourself and just do like a whole like diagnostics test on yourself, checking your current state of mind, seeing how you're dealing with your trauma. Are there any newfound traumas? Trying to remain practical about pursuing relationships, about the dating climate. Like therapy is very helpful. So I definitely do suggest that you get therapy, even if you don't think you have anything wrong with you per se. I highly suggest that you do get therapy, even if you don't think you have anything wrong with you per se. I think it's still very good to be able to talk about your problems in your day-to-day, because it's helped me not to fall into dark spaces and feeling like alone and like I have nobody to talk to. But there's lots of resources out there. With my anxious attachment, I've also noticed that my nervous system, it doesn't really know how to process. For a while, it felt impossible for anybody to actually want to date me. And, those reasons are rooted in like insecurities, but also some relationship trauma with my ex, because it just felt like, no matter how good I was, no matter how attractive somebody found me to be, it still would not result with them choosing me over somebody else. So when I am chosen and I am met with somebody that actually, can hold a conversation, treats me like a human being, doesn't objectify me in any way, my nervous system is kind of like panicking. It's kind of like trying to figure out, okay, how do we handle this? What do we do? How can we make sure that we keep ourselves safe and have an out just in case anything goes south? That's kind of the way my brain is thinking. And having to be able to self-soothe is another technique that I've learned, which is also very hard to do. So yeah, to tie everything together, secure attachments, they are able to set healthy boundaries. They're able to be grounded when it comes to relationships, platonic or romantic. They tend not to overthink so much, and they have like adequate coping mechanisms. I would say that's like the biggest thing about secure. They also tended to have a safe and healthy relationship with their parents. Anxious attachments, their nervous system is kind of shocked by things that they are not prepared for handling. They struggle communicating sometimes. They can also be avoidant and not wanting to get hurt with relationships, and also have a fear of abandonment. Avoidant attachments, they tend to not see the value in relationships. They tend to also be afraid of commitment for their own reasons. They can be resistant to becoming vulnerable, to even let things go into the romantic territory. And they can be very self-reliant, and they tend to have a lot of traumatic baggage that they either don't want to look through or have like a hard time looking through, and they need help of a therapist. So I will say, regardless of your attachment style, it's good to have a therapist that you can talk to and learn more about yourself and your attachment. Don't think of your attachment as a box, think of it as a guideline. And the more you know about your attachment style, the more you can find out about you as a person, the better you can be in your relationships, platonically and romantically, and just with yourself. That's all for me today. If you have anything else you want me to talk about, you can definitely let me know. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That will definitely help me a ton and will be amazing. The link to my website, which contains all the information about my social media, my poetry books, my photography, everything about me, is in the description below. You can also follow my social medias. I have my TikTok here and my Instagram here. Still trying to grow those, so I would definitely appreciate you following. My name is Kingsies. You can call me Zaire if you want to. And